Hello and welcome to a very special video. So, just recently we've started trying out online via the custom server. So, it works. And it works great. I know I mentioned before that I tested playing online with myself and it worked, but people are actually playing matches now. And we're exchanging friend codes and everything's actually really cool. So far, I've only played 2 matches, but both of them worked fine. And the first one was against Nuke. He is a member of the Discord server. Or the Discord channel, I should say. We played on Melee. But yeah, it just sort of sprung up out of nowhere. People started actually getting online, working on their own. I haven't even made a tutorial video for it yet, which is something I really should do, because it would just make life for everyone a whole lot easier. Because it turns out there's actually a fair amount of people in here who have never even used Dolphin, which was kind of surprising to me. So yeah, I'll get around to that pretty soon. I don't know how well I can make a video for Wii users, but I can definitely make one for Dolphin users. Which is definitely the easiest and vastly superior way to play this game online, just so everyone knows. And here we are in Skirmish Melee. I chose Iron Legion because, I don't know, why not? It just felt right. And I've got to say, I was a little bit nervous going into this. It's been so long since I've played against real people in this game. So yeah, there was definitely some spaghetti happening on both sides in this match. Which isn't surprising because, like, that's what happens when you play a game online that hasn't really had online for years. Of course, everyone's going to be rusty. And I mean, this is actually pretty amazing. We're playing a game that came out 10 years ago online in HD on PC. That is really cool to me. And, oh, taking first blood, but not really, because he actually had first blood, I think. But what matters is that I destroyed his tank first, which is actually pretty important in Melee, because once you destroy their tank, it basically means you won that small skirmish. Even if only by a little bit. I managed to get out of this one with 3 rifle grunts and a flame vet still alive. So not too shabby. Or, actually, yeah, not too shabby. So started off with a good lead. I was feeling pretty good. Unfortunately, my tank was already down to half health, so not much I can do about that, except hope for the best. And you may have noticed when I was having that little strafe battle, because that's what heavy tank... That's what happens. When 2 human players are both in a heavy tank, you just end up with this strafe battle where you're kind of circling around each other, which is something you'll never see in single player. And it's interesting. And what it really comes down to is who can lead better with their shots. Because if you try to win that fight by just being locked on, you're probably not going to win. You've really got to try to lead your opponent, which I was flubbing right there. Definitely flubbing. Hit him a couple times, though. But I think, yeah, his bazooka vets were kind of ruining me in this. And also the camera. I've got to get used to that camera again. I couldn't decide where I wanted it to be. And yeah, so that didn't work out too well. And he actually takes the lead here by a pretty good amount. Which baffled me a little bit because, like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I did that poorly at that little battle we just had. Which is ultimately what skirmishes are. They're just kind of a bunch of little battles where you kind of just run at each other and you try your best, and one side ends up winning, and then they end up with more points. And it's really interesting, because even if you win one of those small battles, it's going to be harder to win the next one, because your troops and your vehicles are going to have less health, which means there's a good chance that your opponent will be able to swing things back around in their favor the next time you encounter each other. But if you can manage to win multiple encounters in a row, then you're going to be doing pretty well. And luckily, I was feeling like I could bring it back because I had a whole minute left still, and I knew that his tank was going to be low on health already. So if I could win this engagement, I would probably win the match, because I'm not down by too much. And as long as I don't get my heavy tank destroyed again, that was actually a good shot. I don't think it actually reached him, but that was pretty good aim-wise. But yeah, as long as I could keep my heavy tank alive, I would probably win this. And this is just awful. I should probably try to adjust my sensitivity or something. And I think Battalion Wars 2 actually has an option that would help with that, which is, I remember a setting you can change that adjusts how far you have to move the cursor in order for it to move the screen, which would probably help. There are some things I could probably adjust, because I kept moving the cursor like a little bit too far. So I might have to do some controller adjustments so that I can make it so it's not as sensitive when I'm trying to like just lead him a little bit. But as you can see, I managed to come back from that. Kind of a little bit of a clutch, but not too much of a clutch. Also, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but at the intro, when they're like saying, hey, this is a factory, it makes heavy tanks, and here's your barracks for, you know, infantry, they also mention welcome to old Exylvania, which is really kind of stupid, because back then it wasn't old Exylvania, right? Like, back in the day, 200 years ago, it was just regular Exylvania. So it's weird for them to call it old Exylvania back then. Yeah, so that's just something weird. But let's move on to the next match, which is at Storm the Palace. It's an assault map. So, assault, I always really liked assault back when I played this game on Wii. It was probably my favorite mode. I mean, skirmish is definitely the most balanced mode, and is probably best for like tournaments and stuff, if we ever did tournaments, which are in the works, kind of, actually. But assault is just fun, and it feels like campaign missions, kind of, because they're all sort of related to the story in a way. Like, you can definitely fit them into the story. Like, Armada, for example, is obviously during the Solar Empire invasion of the Anglo Isles. So, and also, like, a lot of the assault maps are taken from single player. So again, like Armada, that's the Solar Empire invading the Anglo Isles and taking over Victory Island, I think it was called. And then in the campaign, you're basically taking back Victory Island after they had conquered it in the online mission. But as for this one, I'm not actually sure when this would take place in the timeline. My guess is that it either takes place during Battalion Wars 1, or it might actually take place during Battalion Wars 2, because it's possible that Exylvania was also invading the Solar Empire at the same time. Like, maybe they're fighting on multiple fronts, like, who knows. It would explain why a lot of the online missions take place in the Solar Empire. Or again, it could just be that they're taking place during Battalion Wars 1. So anyway, getting into this, we're Exylvania. People say this mission is really not balanced at all. And, I guess it's not. I don't know. I'm not the best person to talk to about that. But we're off to a pretty good start, right? Like, taking out the MG towers, just kind of pushing forward. I noticed he was sending all his troops to defend the right missile silo, so I figured, okay, I'll just go for the left one then. But I also noticed that I should probably get rid of his anti-air vehicle, and then just get my gunship in there. So I went right for it. And then something terrible happened. What could it be? Uh-oh. And there it is. And that's the game. So, yeah, I had a FIFO overflow error, which it never usually happens to me. I'm not sure what causes it, but I figured out a really easy solution, which is you just turn off panic handlers, and when you turn those off, it stops Dolphin from freezing the game in order to give you like a pop-up for an error. So the error will still happen, but it won't stop the game. And that error doesn't seem to actually do anything bad to the game. The only reason we disconnected is because the pop-up froze the game for too long, so we lost connection. But by disabling panic handlers, the game shouldn't stop like that, so pretty easy fix. But anyway, we decided to try again, and he stole Exylvania from me. Somehow. I don't know. I guess I got lucky the first time, and this time we probably both chose Exylvania, and then it just randomly gave it to him. But yeah, so playing this from the Western Frontier side, a little bit different. And I don't think we watched the whole cutscene this time. I'm pretty sure we skipped it in a moment. But yeah, this assault mission is different from the rest in that it only has 2 objectives, which I've mentioned before. So the time limit's shorter than most missions also. But anyway, I figured I would just take the direct approach and charge right in. Now, something you can do in this level is there's an extremely cheese tactic you can do, where if you're Exylvania, you take the gunship and just fly behind the missile silos, the missile silos, and you shoot it from behind, and then the anti-air vehicle has a lot of trouble getting to you. So he didn't use that strategy, and maybe he doesn't know about it, and I didn't use it either. I thought about using it. I didn't, because I figured I would try just going in with my light tanks instead. But it's definitely the best strategy, I think. I would assume. And then I foolishly kind of, I didn't take very good care of my anti-air vehicle, which was a big mistake. But yeah, so I decided to do this because I figured if I just go in, I can kind of stall him at least a little bit by doing this. And yeah, my aiming was definitely not on point right there. That was somewhat of a disgrace. And yeah, it's only a matter of time before he makes his way over to the missile silos. And yeah, it's been so long. I really wasn't sure what the best strategy would be at this point. All I know is I wanted to try to keep my anti-air vehicle back and away from the fight. So I did that. He really wasn't using the gunship too much, which was surprising. Usually in this level, if you're Exylvania, the player almost always takes direct control of the gunship, I've noticed. And to be honest, there are definitely times where locking on is the right choice. Like, in these 2 matches I played, the entire time I was definitely trying to not lock on for the most part, but like, obviously, if you're attacking an NPC, you should probably just lock on like I did right there. Because the light tank's not going to move out of the way. So, it's a lot easier if you just lock onto it. And also locking on even to a player unit is a good way to reposition your cursor, like so that you're actually near where they are. So, yeah. Locking on not always a bad option. Just generally a bad option if you're trying to hit a player-controlled unit. So yeah, we're down to our last missile silo, unfortunately, which is about to die because of bazooka vets, and probably the correct choice. Oh, this is embarrassing. try to get in between the tree and the pillar, or the statue thing. I probably should have just switched to flame vet and then tried to kill the bazooka vets that way. But probably the hardest part. That was bad. Probably the hardest part about playing online is thinking about what you're doing. Because when you're playing single player, you have a lot more time to just slow down and be like, okay, I'm going to make these decisions. But online, every second you take wasting time trying to decide what you should do is just another second that your enemy is approaching your objectives and destroying stuff. So, yeah, that's definitely one of the challenges. And I decided, since I was in their spawn point, I might as well try to destroy some of their tanks while I'm here or something. Because one of the things that's tricky is when you're defending, you have to run back to defend your objectives, right? So during that time, it's like the enemy's going to be also approaching the objective, and so you're basically killing each other while you're both making a mad dash to reach the objective first. So I've always thought, like, okay, maybe the better option is just to try to kill as many of them as you can while you're still in their spawn, instead of just running away. Because, I mean, if they kill you, because eventually they're going to overwhelm you, since the attacker has more units. I mean, eventually they're going to kill you, and then your units will respawn at the base anyway, so, like, seems like a reasonable idea. And right here, I wanted to leave my anti-air vehicle back because I didn't want it to get destroyed by the light tanks, which... one of the mistakes I made was I left it too far back, because now it had to move up like a little ways to actually reach where it would be able to hit the gunship. And something tricky right here is that there's not a lot of room to move around. So, yeah. Strafing, not even a real option right there, because there's just walls on both sides. And this is where things started to get bad, because now he had a bunch of infantry still alive in the base, and I was down to just a bazooka and some rifle grunts, and no tank. But his gunship wasn't around, which was good. And my... that was... okay. My strat was pretty much just get on the flag. Which... because if you're on the flag, it means they can't capture the flag. So if you're defending, you might as well just try to get a unit on there. And then... oh no! 15 seconds! And I'm just using the bazooka vet to kill all of them, and then... that last rifle grunt! That was actually an extremely close match, because there was 10 seconds left, and he just had one rifle grunt left on the flag. If I would have just killed that rifle grunt, I would have won. It would have been done, because once that rifle grunt was dead, I would have been able to jump on the flag, and most of his infantry was gone by then. So yeah, that was a really close match, but unfortunately, I did lose, so bummer deal, I guess. But yeah, I'll probably be back with more online videos, because this is actually pretty fun, so see you next time.